So I got an email not too long ago, actually it was a while ago. Hello Brandon, hope everything is going well with you. This is probably a fake name. We are one of the distributors of audio products. You are right off the bat, you know it's a well-known quality product. Learn more about through our website and social channels. Your videos are amazing and we love them so much. Well, if you're completely unrelated topics to a microphone. Most of these microphones they showed on their little collaborator section there, they were like musicians and stuff. I don't know why they think I would want a microphone, but hey. We hosted a talent project and would like to invite you to join us. We will send you a handmade microphone. In return, we would be honored if you use this device to capture approximately 5 minutes of something interesting. You can find more information about our collaborators, inquire your experiences, blah, blah, blah. This would be a win-win if you happen to require a high-end microphone for recording, don't you think? So it sounds like it's a no-strings-attached microphone. In exchange, I just have to record something interesting. Again, not a musician, but hey, I got a story I can tell. That's slightly interesting. So I replied. I said, sure, let's do it. They then sent back a list of all their demands and requirements, like you buy it, and then if you get so many comments and views, then we will start reimbursing you, all kinds of stuff. And I just didn't want any part of it. I'm showing you the one of the ones that I found the funniest here. Do not start the procedure. Anyway, yeah, you can read the rest. But anyway, I don't need their stupid microphone to tell you this story. So, let's dig in. Alright, passenger, to tell this story properly, we need to go actually down there and have a look. I figured it'd be a better way to actually explain it. So I used to have this job working for this petroleum company. Now, I didn't do anything with the actual, fuel side of it. What I did was the convenience store side of it. Specifically the products they sold inside the convenience store. PCB, packed carbonated beverage, center store, so all of your snacks, your meats and seeds, your salty, candy, health and beauty, that kind of stuff. Those kind of products. So every few months, we would go in and we would basically rearrange the store, what we would call a reset. See, humans are creatures of habit. So you go into the gas station in the morning, you go and you buy your favorite candy bar, and you leave. Well, new products come out. They want you to try new things. So you go to that spot where your candy bar is usually found. It's not there anymore. You still want it, so you search around for it. You see something else you want, you buy that and buy the candy bar you're after. They get the sales up, and it keeps, new products coming in, and older products aren't selling well to go out. It makes sense. So what we did was we had a team of people servicing the West Coast that would go into these stores every couple of months and do these new sets. It was good. It was a pretty good job. It paid very well. It got you to go out, do some traveling, see some sites you normally wouldn't see. Work with, most of the time really friendly staff at these gas stations. It was it was a good job. So when we would rearrange the candies, let's call it, that would be a candy project, a center store project. When we rearrange the coolers, we call it a cooler project, thus projects. So my job, I was the project lead. When a team needed something, they would call me. When they needed equipment, they would call me. If their truck broke down and needed another one, they would call me. If they were struggling, they would call me. If they had a question. So I was their go-to guy. Anything that didn't have to do with them personally, their payroll, where they were going to stay that night, at a hotel, that kind of stuff. Everything else, I was their go-to guy. Now, this job wasn't for everybody. There is a lot going on and a lot of product, and it can be overwhelming for a lot of people. A lot of people really, really struggled with it. So if there was a team out somewhere that was struggling and not getting it, I would go help them when they needed it. So I would fly to wherever they were, and I would travel with them around until they were either comfortable, and if they never were comfortable, find a replacement, train that replacement, and have them work with them. It was that was my job, just help everybody else. So the crew that was going to do Vegas, it was a guy and his brother. The guy got a DUI or something and lost his license. Therefore, he's not getting the truck, and his brother didn't have a license, so we needed to find a replacement. We took the guys that were doing the San Francisco area because that's an easier route, and sent them to Vegas to work in Vegas. and that's when they started struggling. So I flew to Vegas to help them out. We did Vegas, and then we had to come down to this area, which is, we're in Mojave Valley right now. There's only 5 stations, and it's spread across the week. It's real easy to do. You could do all stores in one day if you wanted to, and then just, vacation at the casino for the remaining time, or go home, whatever you wanted to do. But they wanted to do 1 store a day and just relax the rest of the day, so that's what we decided to do out here. We're about to pass one of the stations right now. So I was working with a guy named Vince and Tony. Now that's obviously not the real names. I'm changing them for privacy. But that's the 2 guys I was working with. So on the way down here, we cross over the river. I should have recorded that so you can see it. But anyway, so after we got done with our work for the day, they're like, well, now what do we want to do? We don't want to drive back to the casino and just hang out. We were staying at the casino. So I think Tony, he was like, well, let's go down to the river. We'll swim around or whatever. And Vince is like, all right, yeah, cool. I was like, all right, guys, well, let's go down this way. I'll show you where Jack Smith is. Go hang out down there, because I've been coming here since I was a kid. I'm very familiar with the area. So he said, okay, yeah, let's go to the river. So we drove down this way. All right, we are at Jack Smith. Let's go park and we'll walk down to the water. All right, here we are on the first public beach. There's 3 beaches, so we're at this one, then we got one next door, and then the third one down in the end. On this side of us is a marina. Let me show you real quick. On the other side of that mound is a marina. So we're sitting here, swimming around, splashing, having a great old time. Now, keep in mind, this is like November of 2008. The economy just tanked. Not many people were, frivolously buying and using their boats. Gas was expensive. It was a Tuesday, so given the time of year, nobody was out here. It was just like it is right now, just completely silent. So we're sitting here, and I want to say it was Tony. Tony was like, hey, let's swim to the other side. And Vince was like, yeah, let's do that. Come on, Brandon. I said, well, guys, no, you got to understand that this current doesn't look like much, but it's a pretty strong current. You're not going straight across. You're going to wind up down there. Then the other thing is we don't have life jackets or anything to float on. So that's a concern. And if a boat comes by, they're not going to be able to see us. It's not a good idea. And, oh, Brandon, you're being lame. Quit being a square nerd. Yeah, we're going. You wait here. Bye. And off they went, even against my numerous attempts to tell him not a good idea. Now, Tony, he was in shape. He was in good physical shape. There was no concern about Tony. Vince, he was in shape too, but it was more like a pear shape. Vince, it was kind of a concern. So they hit the water and they start swimming. Tony, he goes straight across. There was a little wake behind him. Well, not straight across. He veered a little bit, but not bad. Vince, on the other hand, he got about halfway and then he started slowing down and he just started drifting and drifting and drifting and drifting without making any more movement back or back this way. He was closer to that side, but he just wasn't making any more distance, and he was just caught in the current and going down. Instantly, I knew there was a problem. Now, again, if we look around, it's the same thing as it was on that day. Nobody's around. I don't have floaties. I don't have life jackets. Can't call for help. And even if I could, we wouldn't get here in time, so I needed to figure something out. Because Vince, he needed help. Tony, he was on the other side of those rocks, climbing up there. I don't know what he was doing. So, a lot of the times if something comes loose upriver, somebody will find it and then grab it and tow it into the marina. So, my plan was to hike up this little path, which now has this stick tree. Didn't at the time. So, I run over here, I jog up these rocks, make my way to the top of this little cliff to get a peek down in the marina. I get to the top to get a look at the marina, and just like right now, nothing. What was I looking for? Anything that floated. Could have been an ice chest, could have been a broken down jet ski. If there was a boat sitting here, I probably would have tried to steal it. Anything that floated. And even if it didn't run, I still could have yelled, Tony, get over here. He could have towed that boat over to Vince. I needed something that floated. And Much like right now, nothing's here. Now, meanwhile, I can still see Vince. He's still heading down that way. I'm like, oh no. So I run back down this path. So I get back down. I run over here, over to this cliff to get onto the second beach to have a look. And I scale this wall as fast as I can. And get to the top. Come down to the second public beach. Much like right now, absolutely nothing. Nobody, nothing that floats, nothing. I still see Vince now, just further away. So I come over this mound to the third beach. That's my last hope. Walk through this trail. So I come down here, still empty, and then I come around the bend up here. Now, there was more bushes and stuff here at the time. But right as I come around this bend, what do I see? A boat. So we got the boat docked right here. We got a dude standing right here. And 2 or 3 little kids playing right here making sand castles. So I come up to him all out of breath from running over here. And he looks at me like, what are you doing, crazy person? So I see his 2 kids playing. I see him, and I know he's not going to leave the kids here. So I say, hey, can I borrow your boat? And he looks at me with this confused, like, you crazy person look. And before he could answer no, because, once that no comes out, the answer usually stays no. I say, my 2 idiot friends decided to try to swim across the river without life jackets, and I got to go save them. And out of nowhere, on the other side of the boat, I didn't even see her, was the dude's wife, I think. Could have been mistress, girlfriend, who knows. I didn't even know she was there. All of a sudden, she pops up, she's got binoculars in her hands, and she's already looking for the guys. Now, with the tone of her voice, you could tell she was a little skeptical, because she's looking straight ahead from where we are. And she says, well, I see one guy, but he's on the rocks. I don't see 2 guys. I was like, yeah, that's the problem. So she starts scanning down. And she's like, I don't even see any. No, wait. Honey, you better go save him. I just saw his head pop up. And then he now understands my concern as well. He says, get in. He hops in the boat. Starts it before the outdrive is in the water. The wife, quick on the draws, gets that bow anchor off, and she pushes the boat out of the water, and we're off to go save Vince. Now, we don't know where Vince is. He can't see him, I can't see him. So we're just going up and down this river. We only did it like twice, just looking for Vince. Couldn't find him. Finally, probably over there somewhere, I don't know, 10 feet from those rocks, you can see his head. He was able to get a footing on a rock and hold it there. Let me do a little example. Because mind you, there's a current. So he's probably got his feet locked into the rock. It's not very deep. It's only a few feet of water. But he's got his feet locked onto a rock. He's like this in the water, where the water is right here. He can barely keep his face above water. And the guy's just hanging on for dear life, basically. You could tell he's just physically exhausted and mentally just not there anymore, and he doesn't know what to do. He's panicking is gone, and now it's just, I don't know, acceptance, I guess. But since we're in a little rocky patch where he is, the guy says, hey, I can't get any closer to him. Trying to get the stern of the boat as close as he can to Vince so Vince can grab onto the swim step. The problem is those rocks down there. He doesn't know how deep they are, and he's not about to ruin his boat. So he says, hey, I can't go any closer to him. So I say, Vince, get over here. You got to swim to the boat. And I remember he just, with no energy, he just said, I can't. Just leave me. So Tony, on the other side of the rock, sees the boat, sees Vince, sees us. So he's like, oh, okay. So he does a little Olympic swan dive maneuver off those rocks and into the water, swims over to the boat and does this kind of dolphin out of the water position to get into the bow of the boat. It's like, well, where were you this whole time, Tony? Couldn't you even grab Vince and dragged him over the rocks? But I don't know. I don't think Tony knew what to do either. So I think the guy just kind of realized that Vince wasn't going to come to the swim deck of the boat. It's a swim platform. It's like, little wooden steps on the back of the boat. Basically how you get into the boat. I think he just made a little bit of a turn, just enough to get the rear of the boat to drift over closer to him. And then me and Tony on the corner of the boat just grabbed Vince and threw him onto the swim deck and rolled him into the boat. And then he just kind of collapsed there in the center of the boat where he sat the whole time. The guy drifted away from the rocks a little bit, floated back to the beach. Now the boat ride back was pretty interesting. Vince was so exhausted he could barely speak. He only said a few things, and that was, "Thank you, Brandon. Thank you," looking kind of at the guy driving the boat, but the guy driving the boat didn't want to be doing any of this in the first place. It's kind of funny. You could tell he was pretty annoyed. But he's like, "Oh, thank you. Thank you." In and out of, consciousness, I suppose. He was conscious. He was just so exhausted. Couldn't keep his eyes open. So we get back. The guy floats back up here onto shore. Tony hops out and goes to shore, and Vince is just tries to get out of the boat, but he just kind of like plops one arm over the boat and then one leg and just kind of rolls out and falls onto the shore. And Tony just grabs him by the arms and drags him halfway up the rocks and just leaves him right here. So we're sitting on this beach for probably 30 minutes, me and Tony just sitting here talking, mostly about what just happened. And, I asked him, "What were you doing over there?" He's like, I was just looking for a piece of driftwood or something." It's okay, I guess that's something. But again, I thought he should have went and grabbed Vince, but I don't think he knew where Vince was. I don't think he could see him. And Vince, he was just, laying here, just so exhausted he couldn't speak, just eyes closed. I think his feet were in the water and his hands are just basically just laying there, just breathing heavily-ish and just speaking random gibberish because he's so exhausted he can't talk. So after about 30 or 40 minutes, he was able to walk again and got to the car, and we headed back to where we were staying, which is up at the local casino. Now really, I'll never forget, after we got back and he went to his room and he just relaxed for a couple hours, and then it was at dinner time, I think, is when we met up again. And seeing him at dinner time versus in the morning, he was a completely different person. He was so energetic and so full of life and just so happy about everything again. I think that was I think it was probably his near-death experience that he came through, and I don't know, it's just something about him. Now mind you, it's a Tuesday night in November. There's not many people at the casino, but they do have Keno and bingo little tournaments that a lot of elderly people like to visit, and afterwards they go eat at the buffet, and that's where we went and had dinner. And it was there was a lot of people there, but it was a quiet kind of dinner. There wasn't a lot of people around making a bunch of noises. It was just a peaceful little dinner. And our waitress was really nice, coming over, getting us drinks, talking to us and stuff. And I remember, for some reason, Vince stood up with his, plastic glass and got his fork and just ding, 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 ding. Everybody, I have an announcement to make. And the waitress is standing right there, and she's looking at us. And everybody in the restaurant they weren't like, "What is this weirdo doing?" They were just like, "Oh, this guy wants to talk. Let's all look at him and listen." Kind of an interesting moment. Anyway, he said, "Today, I've overcome the river. I've swam across that river. I'm never doing it again, but I made it back, and I just wanted everybody to know." Just like that. That was his, that was his speech. It's kind of lame, I know. And everybody was just like, "Oh, yeah, good for you. Yeah, cool. Hey, congratulations, buddy." And the waitress, she's an old lady. She's like, "Oh, I used to swim across that river when I was a little girl." And he looks at her, he's like, "Lady, you did not swim across that river when you were a little girl." Because, he just experienced the river full hand. And she's like, "Yeah, I did. It was easy. You just hold on to your life jacket, you just kick your feet, and go right across." He's like, "Oh, well, I didn't have a life jacket." And she looked at him just dumbfounded. "You didn't have a life jacket?" And he's like, "No." She's like, "You're an idiot." The rest of the restaurant just started laughing. That was a good time. I think the title of this video is going to be "That Time I Saved a Guy." But I don't actually believe I saved the guy. The guy that owned the boat is the one that saved Vince. I just found the guy in the boat. Yeah, it's a nice, quiet, peaceful river. Nice sights. But I don't think a lot of people understand the dangers that it has, Like right now, you're looking at it, you don't think it's a fast-moving current. Every year this river claims the life of a handful of people. Kind of tragic. And you can see the rocks down here too. See all those? Now that's, mind you, it's pretty calm morning, pretty easy to see them, and especially since we're up high, harder to see them when you're down low. But yeah, all of that is all underwater. So one of those, Vince found himself a boulder big enough for him to stand on and hold on to and keep his face above water. But that's what the guy in the boat was worried about. He couldn't drive over all this stuff because he's gonna, well, ruin his boat. But I think he realized that Vince wasn't coming over, and I think that's why he drifted closer to him. You know, I think he realized that, you know, risking his propeller is worth, you know, saving Vince. And this whole thing happened in the span of, I don't know, 6 to 8 minutes. It happened fast. Now the interesting thing too is, that's not the first time I've saved somebody out of this river. It happened previously at a much younger age. I'll tell you that story some other time. All right, see you later. Also, you know what, now that I think about it, I think Vince would have been okay if he just, when he realized that he was getting tired, if he flipped over and floated on his back and just kind of kicked and treaded water until, you know, his head hit a rock and he found shore. It would have taken a while, and it would have been, you know, pretty far downriver, but he could have then hiked up the rock and then walked across, well, the desert barefoot back to where we were, or found Tony. I think the problem was he was trying to keep up with Tony the whole time, and I think that's what used up all of his, you know, his energy basically. But anyway.